So today we have with us Taarini. Taarini Upadhyay has been Taarini Upadhyay is a certified dog trainer and a behaviorist. She's certified from Shirin Merchants Academy, and she has been working with dogs for around 4 years now. And today she'll be helping us understand the basics of dog body language. Over to you, Taarini. How are you doing?
Hi Kushi, I'm awesome. How are you doing? Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I know it's a Saturday, but this is going to be a super fun, hopefully not too heavy webinar.
I'll share the presentation that was shared by you. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay, so till then, just to start on the basics and a little bit about what is dog body language. The thing is that humans and dogs actually have very different body languages, right? But we don't seem to realize that as humans because our dogs and humans' lives have been so intertwined. So what we start to do is we start to give dogs human attributes, right? So we start saying like dogs feel guilt, or he understands everything I'm saying, or we look at their behavior like we would have that behavior, which is every species does that. But unfortunately, and I studied this and it blew my mind, that dogs have a very, very different way of communicating. Simple things like hugs. To us, even when we meet a new person, a hug is a form of greeting. For dogs, if you go hug a random Indie on the road, they would most likely growl because for them that is a form of constraint, right? So for them, you are trying to be dominant or trying to be bully. And there's so many small things like this that we do that pet parents who've had dogs for years go a lifetime without actually understanding what their dog is saying to them, because our dogs communicate in very simple but very subtle ways. So every muzzle movement, every head turn, every eye squint, every pant, everything has meaning. And the more and more you dive into this, the more and more you'll realize how much your dog is actually talking and communicating, right? So we'll start with the first. Obviously, dogs are constantly communicating with us, and we just don't know how to listen. So, how do dogs generally communicate with us? Okay, so dogs communicate with us using basically their entire body and behavior. So from their ears, eyes, mouth, tail, body, and behavior, right? Everything that your dog is doing has meaning. Everything he's doing is a part of a communication. And as we move forward, we will, understand more about this. But basically, if suppose there's something called as calming signals, and this is my first level of dog behavior, right? This is the first thing you should know about your dog, is your dog has something called calming signals. This includes lip licking. This includes sorry, that's okay. This includes lip licking, panting, eye squinting, looking away. A lot of smaller dogs like Shih Tzus, you'll see, have a habit of constantly licking their feet. All those are signs of stress, and these behaviors help our dogs calm down. So if you're in, suppose, outside or at a dog party or at a dog event, and you see your dog is panting a lot, is sitting but is panting a lot, is squinting his eyes, is licking its lip very silently, that's your dog saying, "Hey, I'm a little bit uncomfortable here. Can we leave the situation?" If you start to identify these, and if you start to identify these signs of behavior, there will be your communication with your dog in the way you can. Sorry, I'm just putting my laptop out. 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, my laptop before it dies. The way you can advocate for your dog will change drastically, right? So simple things like you've gone for a walk, and we have a habit of dogs meeting face to face on leash, which is, by the way, a big no-no from behaviorists. Don't ever let your dogs meet face to face and on leash. Two things happen, right? Dogs that generally look friendly, and if you have one of those Labradors, I'm here to tell you that they're probably bullying other dogs, right? Because can you imagine a human walking up to you on the road and going, "Hi, I hug you, have you?" And that's our Labrador Golden Retriever energy. That's how they behave. But if you have an Indie, you know how much your Indie doesn't like that. So you'll see the Indie start to sniff the ground. almost like fake sniffing. You know how when we are alone and we're uncomfortable, we act like we're on the phone. Similarly, dogs start sniffing the ground to pretend like, I don't know what's happening here. You'll see your Andy try to flight, which means your dog tries to walk away or run away. A lot of times, actually, dogs take their collars off and run away in flight because one, they don't think you are protecting them enough because you don't know what they're saying. And two, they don't have an opportunity to flight when they're on leash. So when you're letting dogs meet each other, I need you to start advocating for your dogs and looking at the signs, right? Looking at the head turning, the belly submission. When your pets go on their bellies, that's not them being cute. That's them submitting to the other dog. Or if the other dog is standing over your dog or pawing your dog, those are all signs of not friendly communication, but actually a lot of bullying and power fighting, right?
So Tarini, I've seen these behaviors with humans also. I've seen that sometimes when we meet dogs, they are just lying down on their bellies, and we start giving them like tickles, and we start cuddling with them. So is that a positive thing, or is that a no? We should not do
It
that.
depends on the dog. I know some dogs who have understood how amazing belly rubs feel, and they genuinely will go down and be like, okay, pawing you for belly rubs. But that's very different from when a dog covers towards you, his eyes are looking up, his white parts are visible. So when your dog's white parts are visible in their eye, that's also a sign of stress.
Okay.
Right? Because their eyes have become bigger, they've dilated. So they go down, and then when they go onto their bellies, that's them saying, some of them will even pee out of fear if you pet them at that time, right? I've heard this problem so much that my dog pees on himself in excitement when meeting other people. And while that's possible, it can also be a sign of fear and stress.
Okay, so it's not just one sign that we need to look after, but a combination of signals that the dogs are giving.
Yeah, so I always say, and you said it perfectly, I always say that if it's two things, it's context and body language. So if your dog has just had a meal and is licking its lip, it's cleaning its mouth, obviously. But if you're in an outside area and your dog has not had anything to eat, or someone is coming close to their face and they're doing this and they start to lick their lips, it's very subtle. You'll see two lip licks happen, right? But if at that point you start advocating for your dog, there will be nothing like it. Like, that's the point where your dog will genuinely be like, okay, they're listening to me, and start giving you signals so that y'all can communicate better. Imagine you go abroad and you're maybe in Asia and you don't understand the language, and everyone just thinks you are saying what they think you're saying, and they never try to understand what you're actually saying, right? That's exactly our dogs' lives almost every day. And it's really important that we kind of look at those subtle, even muscle tightenings, even, the first sign of aggression or the first sign of discomfort starts in the muscle. Your dog will tighten its jaw and it'll start moving it a little bit, right? And if you catch it there, you may be able to avoid a bite. So even with your puppies, keep an eye out very strongly when it comes to, when they have a toy with them, are they running away from you? They're not playing pakra pakri. They are running away from you because they don't trust you. Another big sign is that they'll put their paw and they'll look at you while you're walking around, right? They don't have the freedom and trust to be with their toy relaxed around you, right? And that usually happens because we steal things from their mouth. And that's a very common thing. So we can actually avoid 80% of behaviors, and to the point where you might not need a behaviorist if you do basic obedience training properly, if you listen to your dog's body language, if you research one thing every day when it comes to dog body language, by the time your dog is ready to communicate, you all will be ready to listen. Okay. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so let's start with this. Okay, simple things, and these are broken down with each body part, so that, but them all put together is a complete behavior, right? So you will see when your dog is nervous, his ears or her ears will be peaked back. Again, because our indies are not fluffy and they're super thin, very, very easily noticeable on indies. They're great for communication. Sit down and watch your stray dogs. You will see all these signs happening, right? So ears picked back is a big, big sign that your dog is stressed on a situation where they're trying to keep an eye on everything, right? Number two would be, so droopy ears is another big one. Is there a way we can increase the size of the presentation? It's on a small screen.
I don't know why. I don't know why it is on small screen. I'll share the screen once again.
Yeah, try it again. Okay. There we go. Much better. Okay. So when your ears has floppy ears, where your dog is very relaxed and has an open mouth, relaxed jaw, that's your happiest dog. You know, when we say the dog is smiling, that is the closest they can get to smiling, is when they have a very relaxed jaw, open mouth, floppy ears, running around, trotting with you. Those are all signs of a happy dog. But if there are, and there will be indies like this that you will also know, and other dogs, now we have a lot of behavior cases, even in our purebred dogs. But you will see a lot of tight jaw, side eye, a lot of growling. And usually what we tend to do when our dogs do these behaviors is we'll shout at them or we'll reprimand them for growling. Like growling is a bad behavior. Growling is actually great behavior. Your dog is choosing to growl instead of bite you, right? He's going through the trajectory of, hey, I'm trying to warn you, I'm not liking this. So it's most likely that your dog doesn't bite you out of nowhere. And I think fear is one of the biggest parts of dog body language, because if fear is not caught early on, it definitely leads to aggression, because fear bites are our worst bites. All the bites I've seen in the last 4 years have been with fear, because the pandemic hit. And there was a lot of fear in dogs, because suddenly after 2 years, everything opened up and they had to adjust. And that fear led to a lot of bites, right? Because we didn't take the time to adjust them into our environment again. So what does fear look like? Ears picked back, tight mouth, stiff body language, dog is not moving, alert. When you see a dog start to do this, I need you to start teaching your dogs to go away from a situation. I don't care if it's your best friend's dog. I don't care if it's a building friend who's got a new puppy who has to meet your dog. Like, I know us humans have these peer pressures where we have to make our dogs meet and we have to do these things. But you have to advocate for your dogs, because you have to live with them and they have to live with you. And if they can't trust you, then that's very, very difficult for them to go ahead and then also trust you around the house. And which is why we have aggression towards owners as well. Okay. Okay, so eyes. Eyes are very interesting, because it took me some time also to understand how the dog responds with different eyes. Whale eyes means generally you can't see the white part of your dog. When your dog is in a form of alertness or a form of stress, his white parts will be very visible, usually accompanied with panting and looking around like alert all around the areas. You know, those dogs at these, all of these bigger events where we have, hundreds of dogs, you see these dogs, a lot of dogs on this alert mode, right? This can mean the dog is nervous. This can mean the dog is scared. This can also mean the dog should be put out of that situation. Similarly, squinting is a slightly smaller form where it comes under your calming signals. Calming signals that we discussed in the start, lip licking, and we'll discuss it ahead also. Yawning, excessive yawning is a calming signal. So if you see dogs communicate, you'll see a lot of excessive yawning, lip licking, squinting of eyes, turning of face, sniffing of ground, trying to be like, hey, you're stressed out, so I'm trying to calm you down. And there's a very specific example to this where when your dog is suppose chewed on one of your shoes or has pooped in the house, and you find it half an hour later and you go to them and you show it to them and you're reprimanding them, right? And your dog looks like they're guilty. Like your dog is looking down, your dog is licking your face, your dog is hiding, your dog doesn't talk to you for a while. And what looks like guilt is actually your dog trying to calm you down. So a lot of dogs will start licking the face of the owner, and that would sound like, I'm sorry to us, because we're looking at them as humans. But your dog is just saying, hey, you seem stressed right now, you're stressing me out also, so I'm just going to try and lick you to calm this, right? So it's not guilt. It's shouting does nothing to dogs. It only shows them that you are a short-tempered person and does not teach them to not poop in the house. And some of you might have tried this. You might have tried to reprimand your dog for doing a certain thing, but your dog goes and does it again and again and again, because we've not taken the time to reward them for the right behavior. We've only taken the time to reprimand them for the wrong ones. And that is our biggest problem, right? So I had a client who genuinely believed that his dog felt guilt and felt everything, right? And I said, okay. So what we did is they had a second dog, and we brought in his poop and left it in the hall. And every time the first dog would poop, the parents would shout at him. This time it was not even his poop, but when his parents came in and he saw that there's poop, he went and still hid. Because in his head, he said, oh my God, they hate poop. So every time there's poop, they shout at me. Like I've done something wrong. I don't even understand what their problem is. In this situation, usually work on rewarding your dogs, right? Rewarding works much better when your dog is peeing and pooing in the right spots. Try to reward them. If they have done it in the wrong spot, our fault. We did not come to the right spot at the right time. Okay, so tails. Tails are something that are very, very common. And we discuss this a lot, except there is always this thing where if the puppy is wagging its tail, it's a happy puppy.
Dog.
Yeah, it's a happy dog, right? Dogs actually wag their tails quite profusely before biting also. They also wag their tails when they're thinking. They also wag their tails when they're scared. But there's different types of wags. But as a human, it's very hard to tell which one is which. So I usually say if you want to know if it's a happy dog, not just their tail, their entire bum has to be wiggling. That's your sign of a happy dog, right? If it's just the tail, he could very overly just be alert or not understand how to deal with you, or just thinking honestly, So I've seen dogs when I train them actually start wagging their tails a little bit when they're thinking and they take that pause. So a tucked tail between legs is a clear sign of a nervous dog. This one is easy. We all know this. A high tail can be alerts. When your dog has a very, very high tail, and especially if you have beagles, when they're sniffing or when they're on a hunt behind some, you'll see their tails straight up, right? A wagging tail can mean excitement, but also can be a warning before a bite. Every wagging tail is not happy, right? So this is hopefully one of the biggest learnings we take, especially when communicating with stray dogs. Don't go and pet dogs on their heads without them realizing. Don't go and pet sleeping dogs, because then if you have a bite, that's on us, kind of, right? Okay, we can go to the next one.
Body and behavior.
Awesome. Next.
Cute animation.
Thank you. Okay. So dogs, now we've talked about their faces and their muzzles and other things, but we've not talked about body, right? So how do dogs use their bodies? A play bow is one of the things we see that our dogs usually do when they meet another dog, right? They'll go down like a bow on two of their legs while two are standing up. That actually is not an invitation to play. That is your dog kind of saying, I don't understand what to do right now. I'm just going to go into a play bow. It's almost confusion, right? How to identify if your dog is playing well with another dog? There are 2-3 signs. One, they both take breaks in the middle while they are playing, right? Two, there is no heavy teething or mouthing on each other, and one dog is not constantly bullying the other or running behind the other. They are both giving each other
butt sniffing behavior mean? Because mostly I've seen that dogs will meet, they'll sniff
Okay,
each
yeah.
other's
So
butts.
actually, coming back to not letting your dogs meet on face and on leash, what is the right way? Is actually let the younger dog sniff the older one from the back.
Okay.
And let them sniff each other's butts. So how we exchange Instagrams and stalk each other. This is the dog understanding, like, okay, how old are you? What's your gender? Where do you stay? Who are your parents? What does your inside smell like? What did you eat yesterday? Like, your dog is understanding all those behaviors, and that is one of our most healthy forms of interactions between dogs, is when they're sniffing each other's butts in a circle, right? If your dog is doing that, continue. It's amazing. Your dog has learned to effectively communicate. Another thing is, if you have a puppy or a dog, don't let them meet other puppies or dogs, because dogs learn behavior from everywhere. Now, if it's like you take your 4-year-old and you put another 4-year-old in one room with unlimited crayons and white walls, and then you say, now don't color the walls. It's not happening. Your 2 4-year-olds together are going to make bad decisions. But in this situation, if you had a 4-year-old and say a 17-year-old taking care of the 4-year-old, it would be much easier to communicate. Similarly, make your puppies meet adult, calm dogs so they can learn those behaviors. Your interaction with your puppy, if it's play fighting, you are almost telling your dog to mouth you. You're almost instigating your dog to mouth you, right? Because that's rough play. And if they start rough playing, we start to bleed. So don't play rough with your dogs. Your energy is your dog's energy. They mirror you. So if you're a calm person who plays structured games and is gentle, your dog's going to start making those decisions. Coming back to dog play, it's not a bad thing for dogs to play together. It's just important to choose the right dogs, right? So they both give each other a chance to be on top of each other. They take breaks. No one is bullying the other one. No one is on the back constantly. It's a mix of healthy mix of both with a lot of breaks in the middle, and you should have control. No matter what is happening, if you call your dog back, your dog should come back to you. That's your relationship that you must build with your dog, right? And that comes with things like fetch, things like obedience training, learning new things together, traveling together, understanding your dog's body language so he can effectively communicate with you. Okay, tight muscles and jaw and hind legs. Now, this is very hard to catch, especially with our furry dogs, right? Because how you can't see their muscles. But with indies and with skinnier dogs and our Dobermans and our Rotties, you can see their back muscles clench like this when they're stressed. And that is one of your first signs. If that point you take your dog away and say, hey, sorry, my dog is not comfortable, your dog will be eternally grateful and actually start looking at you to communicate and say, hey, let's go. Right now, all our dogs collectively feel like we don't understand their language at all. So why should we even try? We have to defend ourselves, and this is how we'll do it, right? Okay, now something very small, and this is again, people consider this as like cute. When we turn our backs to our dogs, right? Or vice versa. When our dogs turn their backs to us, we will usually go and hug them from behind and be like, what happened? And pull them. And they're angry with us. They're not angry. Sometimes dogs need space. And again, if you catch them here, you will not have aggression. So there are 5 layers to this, right? There is flight, there is freeze, there is frivolous, and there is fight. These are your normal 4 layers where the first thing your dog will try and do in any situation when they don't like it is run away. Again, if your dog has picked up a toy and he's running away from you, that's his first sign of saying, leave me alone. If that doesn't work, your dog will sit down, put their paws on the toy, and freeze and look at you like this. All right? That's number 2, where your dog is trying to tell you, hey, leave me alone. Number 3, you start putting your hand in. Your dog will start like biting your hand or running away with the toy and start doing frivolous behavior, sniffing the ground when you start coming close. And number 4 is fight, where your dog realizes you are not understanding them and they have to bite. And the bite always works, right? Because the minute you get bitten, you move away. So every time a fearful dog bites someone, they are getting more and more confident about that bite. And that becomes so difficult because then you actually have to work on bringing their confidence down again so that they don't bite. Right? So don't push your dogs to the level where then one day when they bite you, you say, oh, this bite came out of nowhere. It never comes out of nowhere. Know that. There's something called trigger stacking. There's something called, calming signals, where your dog tries and tries and tries and tries to deal with the situation and make you understand. And then in the end, there is a bite. And they don't enjoy it at all, just like we don't enjoy it. Right? Behavior, we've discussed calming signals, obviously, such as lip licking, excess yawning, panting, eye squinting, hypervigilance. These are all very, very common. If you understand calming signals, you'll start to understand a lot of other things. So just keeping an eye out when you're outside or when you're in a stressful or a loud environment, to keep an eye out, lip licking, excess yawning, panting. These 3 simple things and their tail, if you start with that, you can go into depth into behavior slowly. Okay, dog communication is a crucial part of understanding our dog's feeling, and in particular to advocate for them. And as a pet parent, it is our responsibility, just like if you adopt a human being from another country that knows a different language and you would learn it. Similarly, it is our responsibility to understand our dog's language because we have brought them home. So let's not put our feelings on our dogs and how we perceive the world, but let's take some time to understand how they do. Kushi, if you have any questions that I didn't go enough in depth with, you can ask me.
Yes. So we have a few questions in the comments. So first question Akshita has asked, but what if the puppy pees and poops at the right place during the day with the presence of the maid, and when you come back, he starts to pee and poop in the house with us present like a drama queen?
Okay.
So basically with maid, they are peeing and pooping at the right spot, but with them, they are not following the instruction.
Okay, so either your maid is praising your dog well enough, or your maid is taking your dog to the right spot more attentively than you are, or because you come back late in the night, your dog actually is just attention seeking and is overexcited, so doesn't know how to control, and depends on the age of your puppy, they don't have much bladder control at this point. So it can be very easily that your dog just sees you, gets excited, and starts relieving herself in different places, or even does it for your negative attention.
He is 2 months.
Oh my God, listen, 2 month old, nothing. You are, if your dog is already pooping and peeing in the right spot, get someone to praise him. He's probably peeing like 30 times a day and pooping like 5 times a day. Take him to the spot every 2 hours, praise him, give him enough locations because they have no bladder control. So make sure they have different spots in the house where it's appropriate to poop and pee. One quick tip, your dogs pee and poo depending on texture. So suppose your house has marble, make sure the pee and poo area is either another texture. It could be like the grass patches you get online, it could be pee pads, it could be reusable pee pads, newspapers, whatever, and to leave the scent of the pee and poo on the mat. That is actually rule number one, because dogs you'll see will sniff and will start marking their territories. If you don't teach them a spot to pee and poo, they'll start peeing and pooing wherever they want, but will toilet train themselves.
Okay, so we have a second question from Mr. Raji. I have 2-year-old German Shepherd dog named Jarvis. He's quite amazing, cute and lovable dog. I take complete care of him, but when we go out for night drill, he becomes dinosaur after seeing any moving vehicle or other people. What are the corrective measures I can follow to keep my dog calm even when going out, as he behaves calm and cute when inside home? This question many people ask us when they visit the
Yeah.
experience center and when I meet them in person during events. Like this is a very commonly asked question.
Common, yeah. Okay. So reactivity is very common, especially with our working dogs, like our German shepherds, who are they're shepherds. So they are, what their whole job is to get all the sheep and herd into a specific spot by chasing them. When those things are not met inside the house, they start to come out outside the house. What I would tell you to start doing is start doing basic obedience inside the house. So when you go outside, you can get your dog to focus on you before you even leave. Two, don't leave the house till your dog is not calm. You literally will stand at the door till your dog goes into a sit and a down calmly, and then we leave the house. Right? Three, something called habituation works with a mix of fulfilling this need. So start playing chase games with your dog in the house. One simple one is a rope toy. I usually tie a long rope to a toy and I get my dog to chase it very, very heavily. Do this right before you go for a walk, so his chase instinct is met, because all our dogs have instincts. So even as a dog trainer, I always tell them we're not magicians. I wish it was that easy, but if you want your dog to behave well, you have to give them what they need, right? There's always a barter system. There can never be a one-way street. So make sure you start doing a lot of chase things in the house, a lot of fetch in the house. Make sure your dog is tired when they go out, at least in the beginning, till we are teaching them how to leash walk, and let him watch the cars go by. Go and sit somewhere. Don't let him walk constantly. After a walk of pee and poo, he sits down, he watches the cars go by. The minute a car comes, you teach him a look, and he looks at you and he disengages with the car. Right? And you practice this so much that your dog almost gets bored of it, where he realizes it becomes muscle memory of, there's a car, I'm going to get something from my owner. Right? But this will take time. So start just by him watching, even if he doesn't eat. And if you get even one part where he doesn't chase, I want you to have a party. I want you to pet him, praise him with a treat, a toy, whatever his favorite thing is.
Thank you so much, Karan. I'll
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Awesome.
Thank you. So, like as the floor is now open for Q&A, you guys can raise your hand. I can give you a chance to unmute and speak and ask your question with Tarini. Um, we have a question in the comments from Mr. Manish. My dog barks a lot. So, can we discuss a little about barking behavior?
Okay. Barking again is a form of communication. And I didn't want to put it in this because it's again a very vast separate webinar. We can have our own just with barking. There are few reasons why dog bark. Okay, it's attention seeking, it's alertness, it's excitement, it's frustration, and it's fear. Right. So these are 5 general reasons why our dogs will bark. Right. Usually, I would have to come in, see your dog, and try and understand, like, when is he barking, what is his routine like, to understand why your dog is starting to bark. Maybe he's just doing it for attention because he's realized when he barks, someone will turn around and say, "Shut up." one person in the house after 10 minutes will respond to him and he's like, yes, right? Because for dogs, no negative attention is better than no attention. So if that's the case, that could be it, but there could be so many reasons for that.
Thanks for answering
I,
that. Harshi has raised their hand. Harshi, Hamsa, and Malini. So, from first to last, Harshi, you can go ahead with your question.
Hi Kushi, hi Tarini.
Hi.
Hope you both are doing good.
you too.
Thank you. So Tarini, I have a 6-month-old beagle,
Okay.
and he sometimes swallows any random thing. Sometimes he picks up my rubber band, and when I try to take it from him, he becomes aggressive, and sometimes he bite also.
Okay, so again, this comes down to when you take things from your dog, and in the beginning, maybe when he was younger, he would run away. And now I had a client myself who had started to swallow items, right? I would say this is slightly deeper because there's bites starting to happen. So do get in touch with the behaviorist. But level rule one, puppy proof your house fully where there is nothing lying around that he can pick up that is dangerous for him. And number two, if he's picked it up, let it go. Because the minute you get involved and you start going, give it back to me, come on, give it back to me, you'll see your dog become more hyper. And that's when the swallowing, the biting, the growling, the running, that will start to happen. So don't give him an opportunity to pick up things. And if he has, we have to let it go because you will see and try this. So suppose he picks up your rubber band next time and you don't give him attention. You kind of ignore him and continue to do your own thing. And they're very good at vibes, okay? So you have to genuinely not give him attention. And you'll see in some time he'll let it go because you are not around. So that factor is not. This sounds like possessiveness because the swallowing usually comes from possessiveness.
Okay, but sometimes it happens that he has picked up some wrapper or something, and we have this fear that if he swallows, then what will happen? So what to
See,
do
but the
at
thing
that
is,
point
he's
of time?
swallowing anyway. If you guys go close, I'm sure he starts chewing faster. Or, he
Yes,
starts,
that's right. Yeah.
so he start doing all these very quick behaviors that, oh my God, they're coming to take it. Oh my God, they're coming to take it. So anyway, he's going to swallow it or bite you or something like that. So try this one time where you don't do any of this. And don't, if it's happening on walks, be super vigilant on walks. Make sure you keep, if he's on a harness, make sure you keep the harness tightened. Work on some basic obedience, teach him a leave it, interact with him on a walk so he's not focused on other things. Do sniffing games at home so that he's not going down and looking to scavenge. Lots of ways, but I would say get in touch with a behaviorist because there is a bite there. So any blanket advice would not work, unfortunately.
So I'll do.
Uh,
Thank you.
Harshi, if you are based out of Bangalore, we also have a team of experienced behaviorists associated with Kuddle, and we offer doorstep training services. So, if you want to try out our training services, you can book a trial training session. For people who have registered for this for this masterclass, we are offering the trial training session for just rupees 99. It is usually for 499, but for people who have joined in, we are providing 80% discount on the trial training session. To claim it, you can just fill out the feedback form that I have shared in the comments, and our team will reach out to you and assist you how to book that. Hope that helps.
Okay, but I'm actually based out of Noida. So
Oh,
if
okay.
Oh, are you in Goa?
sorry,
Where are you located, you said?
Noida.
Noida.
Oh, Noida. Okay.
Tarini is from Goa.
I'm currently in Goa. I'm
Okay.
originally from Bombay, but I'm actually coming here so that I
I'll
can work
be
with
sharing
dogs
the
from
first
like
link
different
of this
places.
experience center.
Okay.
Awesome. There's some questions in the comments
Yeah,
also.
yeah. There are many questions in the
Yeah.
comment. So the next question is from Chaitanya. We have 5 months old Indy. When we leave her out of the house, she doesn't respond to us no matter what. She runs behind people, vehicles, etc.
Okay. Yeah. So your dog is nervous, right? It's an indie. It goes outside. It's so hyper focused on everything that could be a life or death situation to her that focusing on you is the last thing on her list. Figure out at which point your dog starts to get nervous. Now, how do you figure this out? It could be your building lift, it could be your lobby, but see at which point your dog starts to become hyper vigilant. So, big eyes, panting, tail starts to go down, ears start to crop up. So, ears start to peek back. So, you will see at which point your dog starts to show these behaviors and stop there. Sit there for a bit. Let your dog eat, relax. I don't care if it's a weird point in the house. Maybe it's just outside your house. Maybe it's when you put on the harness. But you have to start where she's starting. Unfortunately, we don't have the agency to push our dogs into things, because the minute you push her, you'll see she'll push back. So start where you think your dog starts to get nervous, and start doing basic obedience there. Once, say in a week's time, or in about, we give about 4 days to each layer of training. In 4 days, when you see that your dog is getting better, you move on to a slightly more closer area to the outside. And that's how we are going to start to go outside. Don't keep taking her on walks, because the more she practices this behavior, the worse it's going to get. Also, try and do walks at very, very quiet times. Try and do them, I say, really early in the morning, like 5, or really late in the night, because there she will have less triggers and will have less distractions.
There's there's a question in the comments on the related thing, that what are the basics of obedience training? How do you get to listen? How do you get your dog to listen to you?
Okay, so one, you start young. If you have a puppy, start as the day your dog comes home, start setting rules. Because the rules you set in the first 4.5 months are the rules your dog will listen to forever. Right? All other rules, actually, unlearning is difficult. So before your dog makes up his own rules, we start to teach them. Two, basic obedience, actually, and as boring as it sounds, is about patience and practice. I keep telling my pet parents that कि आपने घर पे सिखा दिया, sit down, stay, paw, all our 5 package commands. But the minute you take your dog into a new area, or an area with a little bit of distractions, you'll see your dog stops listening. Like you've never trained your dog, right? Our dogs can't generalize. So what that means is, if you teach them a no on one door, your dog knows that on that one door. You have to practice it in 10 doors for your dog to be able to generalize it. So with obedience training, you start in a very quiet area. I have trained some dogs in quiet bathrooms, so they have nowhere else to go. Because the rooms were too noisy, or some TV was on, or no distractions. And then you start to build it in other rooms. And once your dog is really good inside, that's the only time you step outside.
Thanks for answering that. Next question. Hamsa has raised their hand. Hamsa, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi.
Hi.
So I recently got married, and I rescue a lot of. I mean, I've rescued around 21 pets until as of now. I have a retriever at my home, like my mom's home. So he's very good with like other dogs or cats and all. But because I got married, I moved out of the house, and he's become extremely dull. Like I keep visiting him very often, like over the weekends. But there was this habit actually, like every night until I reach back home from office, he's someone who waits to have food with me, like morning and afternoon, or he just doesn't do any drama or anything. But in the night, he waits. He always used to wait. Now that is actually causing too much of, like, I think there's too much. I understand that he's depressed that I'm not around, because he's always used to sleeping with me and having dinner with me, especially. And now it's just over the weekends and not the,
So is he
throughout
not
the
eating?
week. Yeah. He's kind of become very dull, and he's not having food properly. Like,
Okay, so first I would get a medical check done, because sometimes, even if it looks like your dog might be going through something, sometimes even the stress can cause some health issues. Like gut issues are very common when your dog gets stressed. So maybe you leaving has caused some health issue. So vet check first. If the vet check is out of the way, I would say start every day, start adding one new yummy thing into their food. It's a golden retriever. Dogs are survivors. They are very adaptable. So while he might not want to eat his normal food, if you start adding even like a drop of coconut oil cold pressed, or I sometimes add a little bit of basil, or very little small amount, because our dogs obviously can smell much higher than us. But that will just coax him to eat again, and the excitement that you coming home had will be replaced with the excitement of there's going to be something new smelling in my food every night, right? So that might help.
okay. Actually, last weekend I took him to vet and it's all fine. There's no problem with the health. It's just that like he's used to it, and he's almost 4 years for this December 11. So he's like, I'm so used to you. You just left me and went kind of
Yeah, I
feeling.
know, and it's hard. It's adapting is hard, but he will adapt. Don't worry, dogs are they're much stronger than we would give them credit for. But yeah, just start making his day more fun because the excitement of you coming back is gone. So start adding that excitement with say slightly newer foods or slightly newer tastes.
Oh,
Awesome.
thank you so much, Taran.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next question. For next question, Malini has raised her hand. Malini, you can go ahead and ask your question.
You're on mute.
Malini, you're on mute.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. We recently adopted a pup from the streets. My neighbor rescued him. He was about 3.5 months now. Then he's about 5 now, 5 months. So I have three things. Mainly his food wants, and we are not able to figure out. Currently, he has a very balanced meal 4 times a day. I it started with 5, now it's 4. But even in the midday, I keep giving him boiled eggs or something or the other because it's just not enough. He's always asking and begging, and sometimes it gets aggressive. He steals. Second is the walk time is really stressful for us because it's fine inside the premises of the building because it's quiet. As you were just sharing with another person, take him out, on quieter hours. So I try to do that. In the traffic, it's a lot. He's constantly pulling and sniffing, and then whatever kachra is there, sometimes he puts it so fast that we I just cannot help it. There are these bones that I can pull it out from his mouth, but the other stuff, some rotten flower or some rotten food which somebody else has thrown for some stray, he puts it in and I can't help it. The last one is the biting has started recently, which is very hard on, and it's mainly on the arms right now, and it's quite painful. If you I We were like, yeah, he's playing, it's okay, but then after some time we feel that, oh my god, he's really bitten hard.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so I'll divide them
these
into
things.
three. Your first one was your walking, pulling through traffic, right? I would say again, like I told the other person, see at what point the stress starts. So at what point your dog starts to not want to walk enough, or starts to resist it, or starts to like become more alert, and stop there. Don't push him till the traffic point, because once you reach the traffic and your dog is stress pulling and overly sniffing, so sniffing again calms dogs down, so he's desperately trying to calm himself down by sniffing the ground excessively and swallowing things and chewing on things. Two, give them again scavenging opportunities at home. So all the extra food, all the food you're feeding him, instead of giving it to him just in a random bowl, start making games out of it. You have a plethora of games on Amazon for dog, mental stimulation, enrichment, snuffle mats, licky mats. Like the list is never ending. I do simple things like I freeze up the food so the dog has to actually work hard and lick it. You have games with the towels. Like there's lots of things on the internet. So start doing that so he's a little bit tired. Two, every dog, and I know this is a controversial statement, but I always say every dog doesn't need a walk. Right? Walks were supposed to be a very fun thing for the dog, but if the dog is not having fun, then try to get the mental enrichment out at home. So do physical things, play fetch. Indies are extremely smart. So teach your dogs ways to tire them out at home. And then you can go down for a pee and poo walk, keep it quick so your dog can come back home, and maybe take them into more green. So do treks, do hikes once a week. So your dog gets that exposure also without any triggers, right? Because putting them in that situation, especially in our cities, is very difficult. So before any learning can take place
Yeah.
of the picking ups, you have to first get your dog to first calm down, and that will take some time, and that will take some of not being put in that situation again and again. So literally for the next 2-3 weeks, try to do more like nature walks, hikes. If you're in Bangalore, there's lots of different areas you can take your dog to, lots of bigger parks that have no dogs on off timings, and then also start basic obedience training your dog. This bite is happening because he was very young when you rescued him. So the mom did not have a chance to teach him bite inhibition. Bite inhibition basically means that the mom, when the dog starts to drink the milk very hard, the mom turns around and says, "Hey, you're biting too hard." And that has not been able to happen. So your dog doesn't know bite inhibition. I would say, don't give your dog constant access to you. Have a nice playpen. Like we have cots for humans. You get these really big playpens for puppies, or some sort of barrication, so that when you bring a puppy out, you bring a playpen.
Okay.
A playpen, basically, because right now what's happening is your dog has playpen. Your dog has access to you, to come and mouth you whenever he or she wants, right? So giving your dog some space away from you all, one, teach them independence. Two, you can bring them out when you're ready to play with enough textures with your dog, and when you're not, and when he's tired and eaten and peed and pooed, he goes back to the playpen. Quality time over quantity time, because dogs even mouth when they are irritable, when they are sleepy. They're like literally like children, right? So making sure that they don't have access to you, but have access to different things they're allowed to chew. So, things around the house, old clothes, different textures of clothes, give him different textures to chew on. It'll help him get over this physiological need to chew. So I hope this helps. And if you need a trainer, I'm sure Khushi can help you in Bangalore.
And also you mentioned about the food
Yes,
related
Bangalore.
problem, right?
Thank you,
That
thank you.
the food needs are increasing. So that can be because you
Yes.
believe that the food, the meals that you are providing are balanced, but maybe his needs are different from what we are assuming. So to get a proper balanced diet chart, you can download the Kuddle app. On the app, we offer free diet planning option. There is a free diet planning option, using which you can create a diet plan customized according to their breed, age, weight, body condition, etc. And if you still feel there is something missing, or if there are any allergies or health conditions, you can consult with our nutrition expert. So you can book an online consultation with the pet nutrition expert, and they will help you a proper detailed diet plan according to your pet's unique needs. So it is all available on the Kuddle app. You can download it and check it out.
Yeah.
But also a side note, puppies don't know when they are full. No dog knows. If you give a dog 100 kgs of kibble, they will try to eat it, right? Full 100 kgs without realizing that that's not good. Also, when you eat them, their energy goes up. So if you're giving him 4 meals plus mid meals, your dog has constant energy all the time. So keep it a little more structured. He's not hungry. He's just gotten into a habit of just eating all the time. If it's an indies are, they live on 2 meals a day as young as 4 months old, right? So bring it down to 3 to 2 meals. Your vet will be able to help you, obviously. Kuddle will be able to help you. But he's not always hungry. He's just trying his luck,
Saving for the future.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. For the next question, Monica has raised her hand. Monica, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have a 3.5 month indie puppy who is super scared to step outside the house. She's scared of loud noises and stuff. At home, she listens to commands and everything's fine. I try leash walking at home and she follows whatever I'm saying. But the moment we step outside, she just wants to drag me back home.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I started to slowly take her out, first in the corridor, and now she's slightly comfortable in the corridor. And I'm trying to slowly lead her to the outside, to the garden downstairs, and take her for walks. But every time there's a vehicle passing, she starts freaking out and she's like, "Let's go home right now." I don't know what to think about
Exactly.
it.
So indies, again, very ingrained in them to be scared of vehicles, very ingrained in them to be scared of loud noises, because they're gully dogs, and I don't have a better way to say it. So they have to survive, right? And they're survivors, and being wary is a good thing on the road. But once you come to the house, it's kind of difficult to manage that. And so I would say again, like I told her, walks are not like the best thing for a dog. Like we only do walks because there's no other way to give them the exercise. If you can find out if you have a terrace, if you have a, go at off timings, like I told them. So go at really off timings where there might not be too many cars and you're doing the right thing. Start very slowly, lobby, outside. But the minute you see her trying to walk away, let her walk away.
Okay.
So let her decide what happens downstairs. Go down for 10 to 12 minutes.
So it's better to walk away than to like just get her to like sit there for a couple of minutes and just take him then.
Right. So let her flight and let her make those decisions. Right.
Okay.
You can, if she's much better in the corridor, you all can just start right now with sitting in the corridor with her, maybe chewing something or watching the world go by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I've been doing is I've been letting her sit in the balcony and watch the world because it gives her like access to like what's happening outside without actually going outside.
Yeah, I think what you're currently doing is pretty great. Just add maybe a few nature walks so that she can have walks freely without triggers also and kind of relax. And let her flight. Like it's important to let her make those decisions herself.
Okay.
Awesome.
Second question, because it wasn't too prevalent in my house, she got another friend with her, so the two puppies are playing. And they've been playing for like 2 hours now, and I don't know if I should just let them rest because they don't let themselves rest. They've just been like.
Yeah. So again, two puppies only teaching each other rubbish. Playing will be like biting each other, running around, just doing like no structure is there.
Absolutely.
And what now is going to happen is they're playing for 2 hours, and then your dog is going to expect you to play that rough for 2 hours also, which is humans can't do that, right?
No.
So a little bit of play, but keep getting your dog to come back to you. So the one thing, if we taught all our dogs, teach them a good recall.
Mm-hmm.
Name, recall, come back from everything. This will help you like with like barking, sprinting, chewing, like recalls work in all situations. So start working on a super tight recall. Also start with a little bit of confidence building at home. So like teaching her new tricks. Hoops work. So, you have those dog hoops.
Right.
Because it's a different texture and they have to jump through it and they can play around with it. So get different textures, play different games, do a lot of sniffing, super great for confidence building. And that should hopefully build, because you're 3 months old, you have a good amount of time to get her to be more accustomed to the outside.
That makes sense. Should I separate the two puppies right now? Because they've been playing for like a couple of months. I know they're exhausted. They're just refusing to play.
Separate them and almost force them to rest.
Okay, I'll do that then. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for answering that. We'll pick the next question from the comments. In the comments, I have also shared the feedback form. Do let us know what do you feel about this masterclass, and it will help us come up with more such masterclasses, and it will help us get more topics on which you want the insights for your dog behavior or dog nutrition. And also, if you are looking for doorstep training services in Bangalore, you can fill out the feedback form and to get a trial training session for just ₹99. So the next question is from Mr. Manish. My Labra Laddu, he is 6 months old. After having his meal and doing pee and potty, still he still barks loudly.
Okay, well, the thing is that your dog anyway shouldn't be barking after a pee and poo. After a meal, your dog has excess energy, and that can lead to barking also. So post meals, give him his meal in a more interactive way, ditch the bowl, add some fun games, and two, make sure you are figuring out why your dog is barking. Again, a trainer and behaviorist will be able to help you through that.
Okay, so next question is from Dr. Anula. My husky keeps biting when overexcited most of the times during walk. How to sort this?
Okay, teach your dog leash walking at home first. Give your dog enough textures to chew and bite. What I do is I also teach my dog a hold command so they can't chew on me. And because they're holding something is an incompatible behavior. But start with, don't take your dog down till he has learned how to leash walk at home. How do you teach your dog leash walking? Literally, every time your dog is next to you, by your feet, you reward them. And you make being there very, very rewarding. And it's your job not to make sure the leash is not completely pulled. So if your dog is walking faster, you walk faster, so the leash is loose, get a longer leash. And I or honestly, with a husky, because they are pullers, I would say bring in a trainer to train your husky how to walk, because he is a sledge dog. But other than that, if he gets overexcited when he goes down, same thing that we spoke to the German Shepherd about. Can't leave the house till you're calm. Dog goes for a walk when he's tired, and every time he pulls, you stop and become a tree. So let him be crazy. If you are crazy with him, you are just matching his behavior. He thinks you're both doing this together. When your dog is active, you be passive. Let him finish whatever it is. Don't move. And he will at some point look at you and say, "What is happening? Why are you behaving like this today?" And that's what we want to reward.
So, Dr. Anula, if you're based out of Bangalore, we have a separate training program for leash walking. So, you can connect with us after the session to learn more about the leash training program. Next in the line is Anushka. Anushka, you can go ahead and ask your question. Anushka, you're there?
Yeah, hello.
Hello. Hi.
Uh, Hi, and thank you for this session. It's very good to know that there are many more people struggling with similar issues, and it gives me hope. Today, I had a friend visiting, and I was not sure if I have the correct opinion, but she told me that my 3 months old beagle is really naughty, and he bites a lot of biting issues, but the most concerning one is the poop eating issue. So since he was 1 month old, at night he used to like make noises and to poop, and we used to see if he has pooped. Then after 1 month, I think he stopped making those noises, and now he just started to go and poop in that particular room. And later on, we found out that the poop is gone. So there was something, but it's gone. And eventually, after like 2 3 days, we found that it's happening again and again and again. And we consulted some doctors and also read online a lot, and found that maybe he's hungry. We started feeding him more, didn't help. Then we started giving him calcium and vitamin syrups, but that also didn't help. Now for the last 15 days, I've been observing his diet and like when he poops, the time exactly. And now it's only under control because I keep a track of when it happens, so I pick it up immediately. But at times, because I'm working from home, at times I'm a bit involved in my work and I forget. So it has happened again once today when I missed that. So I don't know how this is going to go away, or this habit. It's not a good habit, and it's very disgusting also.
Okay,
Can
so
you please
actually,
help?
my first dog, a family dog, was a pug, and she had cochophagia, which means eating poop. And we struggled with it for a long, long time. But and that she is the reason I got into training. Um, I think honestly, what worked for us was one, like what you're doing. So monitoring very, very hard, making sure the habit is not formed too strongly. Um, and honestly, with coprophagia, that is one of your best methods is keeping a track of the pee and poo, because as he grows older, the poop will reduce also. Also, try and get your pees and poos outdoors. So if your dog poos outside, post meals during say half an hour after eating, your dog will have a poop. Don't feed him more because that will lead to more poop and more monitoring needed. But if after every meal is when you have to monitor him and make sure he does a poo before you take your eye off him, so that breaks the habit.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's your best bet. Coprophagia in dogs is very, very common and it's very, very normal. What used to happen is back in the day when your dog pooped and they left it like that, predators would come and find him. So they have a lot of dogs learn how to eat their poop like that. But yes, there can be underlying issues. I would say take a second vet check if possible, so that you can just get to the bottom of this, do some tests, and figure out why he's doing it.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you
I
so
have
much.
one more question. Sorry,
Yes.
please, if you
Yeah,
have
of
some
course.
time. Uh, this puppy, she's really very aggressive. So a lot of biting issues are there, and at times I lose my temper, and I don't know what's happening, but gradually it's like I'm starting to become like him. And this is not what I imagined it to be. But after meeting with my friend today, she also told me that her Indie does not have that much biting issues. But I told her that He's a beagle, and I've read that they are more, they have more biting issues at this age. So is this normal to bite so much because they're
The thing
feeding?
is, how old was your puppy when he came to you?
Was 45 days old.
Right. So when your dog or your puppy is not allowed to be with the mother for 8 to 10 weeks, which in India most of our puppies don't, they don't get something called bite inhibition, which we just talked about. Bite
Yeah.
inhibition means right where the mum and the siblings and the litter mates teach them a lot of things. If they miss that, they come and put that on us. Few things that will help you with mouthing. One, give your dog lots of textures, lots of different, not toys. So most of our toys are plastic, rope, silicone, give your dog lots of textures. The simplest way is to give them old clothes that's made of you, jeans material,
Yes, he
wool.
loves that. He loves the bed
Yeah,
sheet
so
and he sleeps on it.
give him 2 3 new textures every day. Two, don't give your dog access to you constantly. If your dog starts mouthing you, your dog, one, play with your dog with a harness and leash on, so you can hold them back. Right now what happens is when they're mouthing us, we are just pushing them away, moving our legs, making it more fun for them. We become big chew toys, right?
Yeah.
For them it becomes, play with the leash on so you can hold him back when he starts mouthing. um, get him used to a lot of handling, a strong no. When he mouths, games stop completely and he gets a 2 minute timeout. Because beagles can get very, very naughty, like we said, because they are very, very smart. The smarter your dog, the naughtier.
Yes, I did not imagine him to be so smart. I am
Yeah,
telling you
yeah.
honestly.
Beagles are too smart. One of our most abandoned dogs because they are so smart. But bring in a playpen or something like that to create a divide between you. So when you can't monitor him, he is in a playpen next to you or around you with a chew toy or a frozen Kong or just a frozen licky mat or something to keep him busy.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
will,
Hmm. Carrot, carrot has helped. Sometimes when
frozen
he's,
carrots is great.
yeah.
Broccoli sticks are great. The bottom of the broccoli, cabbages, just lots and lots of different textures. Boiled eggs because they seem like a rubbery ball, right? So think of the world as texture and give your dog some new textures every few days and a strong no. And of course, no access to you 24/7. Alone time is very important. Quality time over quantity time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll let others ask. Thank you.
Awesome.
So next question, we'll pick from the comments. It's from Dr. Yogita. Sorry, not related to pets, but how do we control the vehicle chasing behavior of community dogs that we take care of?
Unfortunately, because our community dogs are chasers in the sense by it could be because a dog got hurt with a car. So now when the car comes, they have to attack in fear. It's very difficult because you can't stay consistent. I would say get someone in the vicinity who can come and work with them and see why why each one of them actually is reacting that way.
Okay, thanks for answering that. Next question is for next question, Akshita has raised their hand. Akshita, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, good evening.
Good
Good.
evening.
So I hope you've had a good day so far.
Thank you.
So right now, so the whole session masterclass today was about how we sort of understand our pets' signs and body behavior, all of that, correct? So right now what's happening is I'm a school-going girl and my mom's a working mother. So, like, we practically leave them alone for at least 12 to 15 hours with the maid. And then when we come back, we're still busy for at least 3 to 4 hours. So he is alone most of the time.
Yeah.
And we constantly make up his behavior because, we can't really focus on him 24 by 7 or like see the way he's behaving because the maid herself has to work in the house. How do you think you'll be able to focus on him? Because even on Saturdays and Sundays, my mom has a lot of office work that she gets done. Right now we're shifting houses, so all of the interior is doing that. So mom is always out of the house. I get sleep till by 5 o'clock. I have tuitions, I have my studies to finish, homework, all of that. So I personally think, I don't know what exactly is true because I don't know why he sleeps throughout the whole day. Well, he just sleeps. He just sleeps, wakes up, goes, does his truancy, comes back. When I go and pet him, he starts biting me. So I don't know what to do.
Okay. I would say bring in a pet sitter, bring in a trainer, because your dog
Uh-huh.
does need that time. And if that time is not being met,
Yeah.
that's when you come back home in the night, all his pent up energy, because he's realized the maid will not play with him, comes out on you guys
Yeah.
and biting and overstimulation and jumping and just craziness. If you bring in a pet sitter or someone, and again, Bangalore has lots of these options, and someone who can come play with your dog during the day and also basic obedience train them, and when you come back home you
Uh-huh.
have something to do with them that is constructive, right, and not just
Uh-huh.
sitting with them and petting them. So try and find someone to help you with that, because time, unfortunately, there's no replacement for. You need, if you can't put in the time,
Yes.
someone will have to.
That's true. Yes. Right
Awesome.
now, see, we actually, so what happened is we found out about Ugly because we were looking for trainers. Because the initial problem with him was what? He kept on chewing and peeing all around the house, no matter what time of the day it was.
Yeah.
And he would bite a lot, he would kick, he would scratch, to a point where my face was bleeding. So we were looking for trainers and Cuddle came. Then what happened is we talked to a couple of other people who we got the pup from. He's not fully vaccinated. He just has one vaccine and his second vaccine will come on this Tuesday. So we'll probably get the trainer after that. But we don't know what to do with him till now because right now he's just keeping
No,
behind me.
you can bring in a trainer immediately. It doesn't matter if your dog is vaccinated or
Okay.
not. If your dog is this naughty,
All
you definitely should bring in a trainer.
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
thank
as
you
they
so
Awesome.
much.
mentioned
Thank you
that,
so much.
like, but they mentioned right that they tried getting a trainer from Cuddle. So we have this norm that after second round of vaccination is completed, then only we begin with the training. So that is
Yeah,
why they have to
yes,
wait.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh God. Okay.
Thanks for answering that. Uh, can we move on to the next question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So next question is from the comments. Amelia has asked it. I have a Shih Tzu who is 6 months old. He's otherwise good but has a major habit of barking, and yeah, he keeps eating or licking any foreign particles which causes his stomach to upset. We try stopping him but he doesn't really listen to any specific command. What can be done?
Again, and a lot of my answers will be one, figuring out why your dog is licking so much. Two, if your stomach is that weak, you need like get a nutritionist on board. And three, basic obedience, like just teach your dog how to understand you, because right now, even if you try to teach him commands and you try to say words to him, he will not understand because he was not taught those commands. Right? So I would say get in a trainer so you can have a line of communication between both of you.
Thanks for answering that. For next question, Devraj, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good evening. First of all, thank you for this wonderful session. I have a 2.5 years GST female puppy. We could not train her because of the COVID thing properly. Like though we got few trainings done, but it was not a complete training. And right now the challenge is like it always. Wants to play all the time. Even during nights it wakes up, maybe around 1 o'clock it wakes up and it wants us to play the ball. So we are finding it very difficult to make it sleep during nights. So is there a remedy or is there a way that we
Yes,
can
again,
control?
GSD is very, very excited dogs. Very quickly, I would say make his days extremely busy. All the meals he's getting will not be fed to him in a hand. It will be given to him with sniffing, with training, with games. So mental enrichment, just to give you all an idea, is almost 3 times more tiring than physical. If you're taking your dog on a run very, very often, you're building an athlete. The more you give them, the more they'll need. So mental games is a great way to tire out your dog. Right before he sleeps, you can give him like a really hard mental game. There are lots on Amazon, snuffle mats, Nina Otterson toys, Kongs. So bring in games, bring in mental games, because physically you'll never be able to tire out a GSD where we don't have the capacity. But mentally we must, and you will see a change in his night behavior.
So can you just give an example of mental game that we can practice?
Simple things. Suppose you're giving your dog food, or you're giving your dog chicken pieces, and you have a grass patch, or you have some sort of area that you can use. You will scatter his food around that entire room and let your dog sniff and find each kibble. So behind chairs, under tables, hidden in plain sight in the beginning, so it's easier. And as your dog gets better at it, you make it harder and harder. Number two is a Kong. Kong is a toy. I think we all, whoever has pets, has probably seen one. If you haven't, you can stuff things in it, freeze it up, and give it to your dog, and it's very, very tiring. You have to teach your dog how to use it in the beginning, so hold it. But later on, your dog will get better at it. So you'll also have to see what kind of games your dogs like. Number three is chewing. We have lots of chews on the market, lots of brands with chews on the market that have very high, long-lasting chews. Giving your dog something to chew in the night right before he sleeps, also a great idea to keep him busy and not focus on you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for answering that. Next question, Sudhindra, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Tarini. This is a good
Hi.
question, but I couldn't
Thank you.
early actually. I missed out the notification as well. So I joined late, but I just wanted to understand like I have a Shih Tzu puppy of 3 months old, where we have bought it around 1.5 months or something actually. It's been with us for 1.5 months. It's very active and it's already bonded with me. But only thing is like recently what I have observed is like whenever it feels like it tries to lick the feed itself, like where I am trying to one to stop it so that it will move somewhere actually. So is
Your
there
voice
any
is crackling.
sorry?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, what I am saying is like whenever my Shih Tzu puppy pees, right, it try to lick it actually. Earlier it was not doing it. Right now it started like recently, maybe a few days actually, 1 or 2 days. So
Okay.
whenever I am there, like I will try to what do you say, ask him to stop. So he will stop. He won't what to say, he won't lick or something actually. But I am
Okay.
just worrying about like whenever I am not there, it will lick or something. I'm just thinking about it.
Licking your own pee is a very common behavior in dogs. And
Okay, okay,
yeah. So don't worry about it. It's totally fine. Again, have a vet check done just to because it's a young puppy. But
uh-huh.
generally, very common behavior. You can't stop your dogs from doing these simple things, licking their genitals, licking their pee.
Uh-huh. Okay,
So you just, yeah, it's let it go. It's fine.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so we'll take the last question. Okay, Miss Suparna has left the meeting. The last question is from Meghna. Hey Tarini, I know we have spoken about this in parts, but I wanted to know how I can judge if my dog is enjoying his walks. Are there any evident signs? Because my 1.5 year Dalmatian is constantly sniffing on walks and starts barking at stray dogs on his walks all the time. And like many people said, he eats anything he finds on the road. So, are there any significant evident signs?
Okay. Evidence signs, your dog again will have a relaxed mouth, relaxed eyes, will be sniffing peacefully, will not be like, so there's a difference between a whale-eyed dog who's sniffing constantly to calm himself down and a dog who's very relaxed, relaxed tail, relaxed ears, walking on the road, sniffing, doesn't care, nonchalant. If your dog is more hyper vigilant and active, start working on getting your dog to look at you. Teach him a look command. Your dog, if it's sniffing and walking, it doesn't seem like it's too nervous. And barking on indies is a common behavior in dogs because sometimes what they don't understand they bark at. So try and take him into areas where there are less indies, or turn around when you see an indie dog and see if he likes it better. But if you see any sort of over panting, or when he comes home, he needs to chew or do something to reduce the frustration, then your dog might be a bit stressed on walks. So start doing basic obedience, start like getting him to focus on you on walks, and that's the best way to kind of get him to start enjoying it with you.
Thanks for answering that.
Got it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm just so sorry we missed one question from Rajiv. Just
Okay.
wanted to confirm, am I doing right for my Jarvis or not? Instead of raw head bone from market, I buy clean chicken feeds, wash it at home, cut their nails. I add pinch of turmeric, cinnamon powder, pinch of carom seeds, join. Boil for 3 to 5 minutes and I freeze it and give 3-4 as treats to my dog in whole day. He has good growth and digestion. He enjoys eating frozen chicken feet. Please confirm it's good or not.
Yeah, chicken feet is great for your dogs. Don't even worry. We get them lots in the market. If you're getting them fresh, nothing like it.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
It was an amazing session. Thank you all for joining in. I'll